Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Casper here. Today we are going to... Okay, 1, 2, let's go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have an exciting study for you guys because I love you all. By the way, I did that intentionally to grab your attention because, what else do I know? Anyways, so there's two versions of me, guys. Casper, the master of gambits and traps. And then there's another version of me that most of you guys don't know. For example, in the past 5 days, you have seen me sharing some positional studies in the Queen's Pawn game, showing you how you can fight the d4 opening using serious responses. So this is now Casper, the serious guy, preparing you for serious tournaments and other over-the-board games. Right, again, let's say white starts with pawn to d4 because what else do they know? Today I'm not going to talk about pawn to d5 and bishop e6, which I talked about in my yesterday's video. I have something different for you guys to try out as well. And it's up to you to adopt an opening response that suits your style of play. After d4, the move I recommend in today's study is pawn to e6. What about pawn to e6? Well, we are just waiting for white to play pawn to c4 so that now we can surprise them with the move pawn to c5. Hold on, this is still the Howie's defense, not yet the Benoni, in case you didn't know. And you're going to see just how safe this opening is, you guys. One of the openings that has no risks at all if you play it correctly. Now in this position, I'm going to show you what to do if white plays pawn to d5, the top played move in the master's database, or if white plays knight f3, the second common move, or knight c3, pawn to e3, and lastly, what to do if they take on c5. Bam! So let's begin. But hey, before we go any further, this video is sponsored by Jotform. You can create smart forms that adapt to your needs. There is nothing that Jotform can fail to do, you guys. Whether you are organizing a tournament, collecting membership fees, or conducting surveys, Jotform makes it a breeze with its easy drag and drop interface, no coding skills needed. So Jotform offers advanced customization options and built-in payment processing, which you don't see in other free form building apps. So level up your chess events and also your financial management with Jotform. Click the link in the comment section down below to see what are the best features that Jotform offers. That's how you support this channel. Right, now back to the study. After white plays d4, you still go e6, my recommendation for today, and then after pawn to c4, this is when you play c5. So let's begin with pawn to d5 by white. This is our main pair, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want to play a closed game. So what we want to do here is to take, oversimplifying things. And you can check in the master's database, even Magnus Carlsen has played this several times. The top played move by white here is pawn takes, quite alright, and then you go pawn to d6. According to many grandmasters, this is better than locking up your center, by going pawn to e5, which is also not much of a stretch, but this is preferred even by Magnus. One of the advantages of opening your e file is to allow your king's rook to start controlling this semi-open file, and you will see how that works. So your plan from here is very simple. You go bishop e7, and later on put your dark squared bishop on f6. Believe it with your teeth, ladies and gentlemen. Your next move will be knight e7 followed by knight g6. You will be playing this regardless of what white does. So this is more like a system that requires no memorization or thinking at all. And this will be very safe for you guys, even in the tournament. Most likely, you will be trading off your light squared bishop on f3 after pinning white's knight. And then you will be developing your queen's knight on d7 to over-control the e5 square. Your king's rook will join the party on e8, also keeping an eye on the e5 square. And finally, your queen will be sitting on a5 or b6 and sometimes on c7. And that's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see how the games will go. After pawn to d6, the top played move is knight c3. And this is when you want to start with bishop e7. Your plan is to put the bishop on f6. For example, after pawn to e4, the top played move, this is when you play bishop f6. As you can see, I'm following the master's database and we are looking at the game between Stefansson Hannes versus Levon Aronian that was played in 2004. Remember, the king's knight will sit on g6. Anyways, back to Lichess. If white plays knight f3, the top played move, you can continue with your plan, knight e7. After bishop d3, the top played move, you simply go knight g6, now preparing to go bishop g4 so that you can take on f3. Bingo! And this usually happens after white castles short like this. There are so many things you can do: castle short, a6, or even knight bd7. But what I like doing is simply bishop g4 here. I just want to get rid of my bad French bishop before proceeding with my plan. If pawn to h3, that's when you can, get rid of your bishop. And after queen takes, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, now you can simply go knight e5, by the way, getting rid of white's bishop pair as well if you want. Or just castle short. You don't even have to memorize. You don't need me to show you how to play this, you guys. Even a 2-year-old baby can play. Oh, anyways. And see the winning rates for black in the Lichess database, you guys. Even in the Masters database. Here I would play knight bd7 because it's my queen's knight which I want to put on e5. The top played move here is bishop f4 for some reason. Why? After you see this, just take. That's the whole reason why you play knight g6, and after queen takes, you now go pawn to a6. Very important move. Oops, looks like after a6, white is just gonna take your free pawn on d6, right? Good boy. Because now, that queen has no way out. It's just dead. In fact, what I like doing here, instead of playing a6, is just to, castle short, making it clear as though my d pawn is hanging. And that's another beauty of putting your dark squared bishop on f6, ladies and gentlemen, to kill this poor queen. Anyways, let's see what else can happen. Again, after knight c3, bishop e7, e4, bishop f6, knight f3, and knight e7, you see, sometimes instead of white playing bishop d3, they may stop you from going bishop g4 first by playing h3. After h3, here you can just continue with your main plan. You see, you put your knight on g6, right? And this is when you might see your opponent playing bishop d3, and then you just castle short. First of all, before I castle short, there's one more move I want to show you guys. a6. Given a chance, remember to play a6. It's just a beautiful move that prepares for pawn to b5 and also stops knight b5, you guys. So whenever you have a chance, play a6. That's all. Anyways, castle short, they will castle short. Remember, h3 stops bishop g4. So where are you going to put your light squared bishop? Well, you just chill. One way of developing your bishop, by the way, is by going b6, so that on the next move you go bishop s6. I'm just showing you many options, but here I would play knight d7. Quick development, I want to put my queen's knight on e5. Say white plays rook e1, because what else can they do? Now this is when I play knight d5. And obviously after knight takes, which most of your opponents would do, I don't even take back with my knight, knowing that white has pawn to f4. Logical stuff, you guys. So I take with my bishop. That's why we put the dark squared bishop on f6. And then here is the other way you're going to develop your light squared bishop. You first go pop pawn to f5 and then trade off bishops. That's if you want, it's optional. By this time, white is going to play something like bishop e3, and then this is when you can go pawn to f5 if you want. I think this is playable, just trading off the light squared bishops. But if I was playing this position in a tournament, I would consider queen f6 because I want to play knight f4 next. By the way, if white plays queen f3, I'm just gonna grab that queen and then free up my light squared bishop like this. Bingo. Right, so after going bishop e7, then e4 and bishop f6, there is this other move that most Lichess players like playing. Well, also playable at the top level, pawn to f4. This is what you will see most of the times in your games after putting your dark squared bishop on f6. But look at this position, you guys. These pawns are not going anywhere. e5 will be made by pawn takes, followed by bishop takes. So just continue with your main plan, knight e7, and knight g6. But Stockfish in this position says you should take on c3 so that after pawn takes, now you can go knight f6. This is all great, by the way, you guys. Nothing wrong about that. But you know what? Stockfish is just very childish. We don't know what the future holds. Anyways, so you just play what every grandmaster plays. You can see the top played move is knight e7. Forget about Stockfish. It doesn't know anything. Your opponents will play knight f3 in this position, and now you put your knight on g6. So you can see you are just doing the same things over and over. It's like madness. They say madness is doing the same things over and over while expecting different results. Anyways, this is just a system, you guys. They'll play bishop d3 once again, because what else do they know? And this is when you can castle short. See how safe this opening is, you guys. Why am I even showing you this? Because I love you guys. And so you should Also do the same, subscribe to this channel and hit the like button. So white will castle short, and then this is when you can free up your bishop or play rook e8. I love bishop g4, just, trying to get rid of that knight. Say after pawn to h3 or even after bishop e3, I can, get rid of that knight. So you take once again, and after they take, this is when you play knight d7. Simple stuff, you guys. There is no pawn to e5, by the way. I can just take and then take whatever. From here, say after something like bishop d2, this is when you can go a6 if you want and start expanding on the queen side. Put your rook on b8 or on c8, your other rook on e8, over controlling the e5 square. In fact, you should start with a6 and rook e8. Anyways, so you go rook e8 and say after rook a e1, the top played move. Now this is when you go a6 and start pawn storming, or queen b6. Targeting that poor pawn, they have to play something like knight a4. Whenever your queen is attacked on b6, just put it on c7. You are indirectly guarding the e5 square with all these other pieces. So this is just how you can play this. By the way, let me show you what happened in Levon Aronian's game that I showed you in the beginning. Right. The game started as follows. d4, Aronian was having black pieces, by the way. He played e6, and after pawn to c4, he just continued with c5, and then his opponent, Stefansson, played d5. Aronian didn't want to complicate matters, by playing e5, these. No need to close the position, just take. And after pawn takes, d6 was played, and then his opponent played knight c3. And now here we see this plan of putting the bishop on f6. Aronian played bishop e7 first. Stockfish doesn't like it, but it's fine. e4 was played, bishop f6, h3. Now you see Aronian's opponent didn't want to develop knight f3, allowing bishop g4. He wanted to make it hard for Aronian to develop the light squad bishop. That's why white played h3 in this position. But anyways, Levon just continued with knight e7. Knight f3 was played, you can see. There's no bishop g4, but knight g6 was played, same stuff. And after bishop d3, what do we see next? Castle short was possible, knight bd7 was possible, pawn to b6 was possible, even queen c7. But out of everything, Aronian just chose to play a prophylactic move that I told you guys to keep in mind, a6. Preparing for pawn to b5 and also stopping knight b5 in some lines. So f4 was played, stopping b5, and then this is when Aronian played castle short. White castle short as well. And then what do we see next? How do you develop your light squad bishop? Well, it's not about your bishop, it's about your queen's knight. Knights should go first before bishops. So Aronian wants to put his queen's knight on e5. Knight h2 was played by white, maybe preparing to play f4 in the near future after something like knight d e5. But Aronian here just played rook e8, and then white played bishop e3. Let's see if pawn to f4 was played. Well, I want you to master this position. First of all, there's a lot of things that you can do. Don't just do anything about these pawns. They are not going anywhere. I showed you. You have moves like rook b8, b5, sack a pawn. Even queen f5 is playable in this position. Or queen b6. Or you know what? You can also get rid of that knight. Just take. You also have bishop d4. So there are a lot of things that you can do. But out of everything, I want you guys to remember what Stockfish recommends here. You first of all go pawn to c4. This is called a clearance sacrifice. Next, you're gonna put your knight on c5. Okay, so the thing is, after bishop takes, you now get rid of the defender of the e4 pawn. You take the knight, and after pawn takes, it's up to you to go knight f6 now, because you would love to take this with your knight. Or just play rook takes immediately. There's nothing wrong with that. But anyways, just go knight c5 or knight f6. You want to take with your knight. By the way, if knight g4, you just take with your light squad bishop. And these are moments where you see your opponents playing desperado moves like pawn to e5. Well, just take. You may ask, Casper, but you allowed a passed pawn. Which passed pawn? This? The d5 pawn? It's not going anywhere. That's the fact. See the eval bar. After f takes e5, this is when you take, threatening to capture the knight. Say bishop a2 is played, holding on to the pawn. Now you go knight e4. There are so many things that you can do. You have queen b6 coming. If something like bishop e3 is played, you see, you can even take this pawn. This is just your game. Anyways, in the game, after Aronian played knight d7 and white played knight h2, signifying to play f4, the move that we just looked at, well, Aronian just continued with rook e8. But this time, white didn't play pawn to f4. Remember, after f4, I said also consider to play c4. but Stefansson here played bishop e3, and then Aronian played rook b8. You see, there are many things to do. And then white played queen d2. Knight d e5 was possible in this position, so that maybe if the bishop goes back, you can play knight c4. But anyways, Aronian played the engine's top choice, bishop d4, just exchanging bishops. And then after knight e2, he played knight c5. Remember the move that I talked about? This is where your knight belongs. Knight takes, taking the pawn to equalize material. Bishop takes was played, and then rook takes. So most of the times you're going to be remaining with these isolated pawns that don't even go anywhere. And the moral of the story is Aronian went on to win after some moves, obviously, like this. Yeah, the game took a bit of time, but the whole idea is to get out of the opening stage safely without any risks. And this is what Aronian tried to do, just ensuring that his d6 pawn was protected at all times, not allowing white to penetrate. And this is what happened. And then, I don't know. So this is one beautiful opening that you guys should try out. d4, e6. And after c4, you simply go c5. Done. And after d5, you simply take. I should mention to say, you won't see many advanced players taking with the queen. I mean, why doing this, allowing black to develop the knight with tempo? So this is not just great. Even after queen takes d5, I'll still play knight e7. Why? Because I want to put my knight on g6, play bishop e7, and bishop f6 next, d6. I just want to stick to what I know. If this is played, I even have pawn to d5 here for God's sake, or even knight c6 first. Say knight c3, knight d4 is a move, also pawn to d5. But let's just say knight d4. If pawn to e3, this is when I play a clearance sacrifice, because if pawn takes, guess what? I don't even take back, I go bishop f5. I want to take the rook. So this is just one of the things that I can do if white takes on d5 with the queen. So they must always take with the pawn. And this is when I play d6 and play my system, showing my madness on the board. Pop, pop, then knight g6 in the near future. Even in this position, if white starts with e4, you can still go bishop e7. Sooner or later, they are going to play knight c3, allowing you to complete your development. So this is just one of the opening responses that I trust with all my fingers and my lips. And so let me know in the comment section if you would still want me to continue with this, showing you other lines like what to do if white takes, or if they play knight f3, pawn to e3, or even knight c3 in this position. What do you do? That's what I'm going to cover in my next video if you guys show some interest. Now, time for you to go and check out my new E5 defense course, which I have also linked in the comment section down below. And I'm glad to say, so far it has received a lot of attention and people are getting it like crazy. So it's an opening response that you try against white's E4 opening. You're going to learn how to play against the Scotch, the Ruy Lopez, the Bishop's opening, 3 Knights opening, the 4 Knights game, the Vienna game, even the Italian game. So it's the complete E5 defense course that I just launched with my team. You better go and check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye bye.